Okay, welcome to session number 7, everyone. We're continuing to work on our website, and today I won't be working on the calendar page as I've conducted a poll in the Discord channel. People want me to work on anything but the calendar page. So what I've done is I merged the pull request with the calendar changes. You can look at it if you want. It's right here. And I've split some issues that are unfinished there. Obviously, it's still pretty rough. But if you want to take on some of the issues, feel free to do so. So yeah, there is some nice issues you can work on to contribute to the website. There's some in progress if you want to share your opinion, but yeah, I'm not going to be working on the calendar page anymore. Although I will be working today, I'll be doing something similar or something close to the calendar page, which is authentication. Because the idea is that we don't want anyone visiting our website to be able to add an event or delete an event or make any changes to the calendar page whatsoever. There is a very good timing for what I'm going to be doing because I've been recently receiving emails from Firebase. And the emails are saying that my rules and my cloud Firestore are running out. They're actually running out in 2 days. If you ever worked with Firebase or Firestore security rules before, by default in test mode, it sets like a date 1 or 2 months ahead of when you started your project. So we need to change this. This should be a better logic. We shouldn't allow all reads and writes to any document because that's not secure. And today I'll be changing this. Hopefully I won't. The idea being that we only want to allow all the reads, but only allow writes, updates, and deletes to authenticated users. That's where that comes in. So yeah, potentially this should be changed. And yeah, I'll be implementing authentication with GitHub. So a good plan for today, at least, would be to just have a login button that would basically become your username if you're logged in, and like a logout button so you can log out. So yeah, that's the plan. We'll see how far we get today. All right, I'm going to create, actually I don't have an issue, maybe I do have an issue. Yeah, I do have an issue for this. So I'm going to go to my projects tab. I'm going to assign this to myself and move it to in progress. Perfect. Oh, sorry, not this one. And this is now session content. Cool. Okay, this is issue number 5. So I'll say, check out a new branch, and I'll call it something like authentication. Cool. Okay, let's run the project and see just like visually where we want that button to be at. npm start. Cool. So I think a good place for it will be in the menu, like the far right corner would show like a nice login button. And then if you are logged in, it would show your GitHub username or like your GitHub profile picture. And you can also possibly, maybe you just like click on it to log out or something like that, or maybe we just make a very small like log out button there as well, something like that. We'll see. I'm sure there are people that know better than I do how to style this. Okay, so let's just have a very simple button somewhere. So I will need my menu components. So menu.js is the component that has all of these links here. I think we also need to think about the mobile view, because at some point this will be converted to a hamburger menu. But maybe we don't worry about this right now. It's going to be another link anyway. So. Okay. We do have a custom button component, so I'm going to use that. Did I just call it custom button? Yeah. Then we will have an authentication service that we will call. So we have a Firestore service, and I want to add a new file and say I want an auth service. And for now, I'm just going to have function log in. It's not going to do anything. Probably will be an async function. And on click, I'll be just calling this login function. Cool. I'll just log something out to see if this works. Nothing too complicated. Okay, this is not, we need like a label to display. I think it's just label, isn't it? Oh, right. Yeah, it's button text. That's what I called it. So button text log in. Cool. That actually doesn't look very bad. And I think if I click this, we should see logging in here. Is this from, yeah, this is just while compiling. Cool. Okay, this is good. I'm actually going to commit this. This is a small piece of work, but pretty nice. So once again, if you didn't add any files or delete any files, it's very nice to use the gcam alias. Obviously, if you're using Z shell as your terminal of choice. It's basically like get commit, add all the files, and add a message. So add login button. Okay, this is all good and everything, but let's actually implement this function and see how this will work. So for that, I'm going to resort to our docs. And in the Firebase docs, you have all these sections for different parts of the Firebase console, one of which is authentication. I'm probably not going to go through all of this. I mean, introduction just gives you a general overview of what's possible. There's a nice, actually, if you're developing an application yourself, it's and you want to just quickly do something, they have a Firebase UI package. I think it's available for like web. They added it to Flutter recently. It's essentially like a login screen pre-built for you, so you don't need to build out all of your login components and login buttons. You can just use this, and it's going to be like out of the box tied to Firebase authentication. Pretty useful, but I'm not going to use it today. Yeah, okay, let's jump to web. So yeah, here's the sign-in with pre-built UI that I was talking about. You can include providers like GitHub, Google, whatever. So it walks you through. If you are interested in this, feel free to check out the docs. I'm interested in my GitHub sign-in. So we need to add Firebase to our JavaScript project. Done that. We need to go to our auth section in the console, and we need to enable GitHub as a valid provider. So get started with Firebase by adding auth sign-in method, enable, and it already presents us with two things we need. I'm going to, yeah, I mean, I'll set this up. But yeah, these things will need to come from GitHub, and we actually will see how that works. Haven't done this in a while, so we'll see if we can just follow the docs. Sign-in method tab, enable GitHub provider, add the client ID and client secret from that provider's developer console to the provider configuration. Register your app as a developer application on GitHub and get your app's auth to 0 client ID, client secret. So let's see how we can do that. Oh, great. This automatically gives me a screen. Application name, GDSC website. Homepage URL, we actually do have one. Oh, I wonder if, I hope it doesn't matter which domain this uses, but let's just give it our production URL and see what happens. So we have the website right here, right here. Application description, website for Conestoga. Authorization callback URL comes from the console. If you recall, this was the URL. So we're going to give it that. Allows auth app, allows auth app to authorize users via device flow. Okay, I'm not going to enable it for now. Not sure what that is. Do docs mention that at all? Auth redirect URI is set up with authorization callback URL. Settings page on your GitHub app config. Okay. Register. Cool. You can drag a logo and stuff. Yeah, I'll probably generate a new client secret out after this. But now we should be able to get this, right? This is the client ID. And then the client secret will just generate one. Here we go. Save. Cool. We have GitHub enabled. So now we need to do this because we will use our GitHub as the source of providing authentication for us. So whenever you see, like, if you're new to this concept, if you ever see a button that says log in with Google or log in with GitHub, it's actually your application that you're trying to log into is redirecting the responsibility of logging you into this provider to either GitHub or Google or Apple, whatever. And this is what we've done. We've connected our app, our Firebase, to GitHub. So now whenever I click the login button, I'm going to go to GitHub, authorize with my credentials, and GitHub going to go back to my app, say, hey, everything's cool. You can continue using your app because you're authorized. This person has an account through GitHub and everything is great. So yeah, that is done. Let's continue following the docs. Handle the sign-in flow. So we're using Web v9. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, import GitHub auth provider from Firebase auth. That's what we will need. So switching back to our auth service, here's my import statement. And we need to new up the provider. Specify additional auth to scope. So this is optional. It will give you a scope. So I'm not going to specify this. Allow sign up. Yep, authentication with Firebase using GitHub provider object. You can prompt your users to sign in with your GitHub account, either by opening a pop-up window or redirecting to a sign-in page. This is common for Firebase authentication. If you're logging in with a provider, you have an option to either have a pop-up show up saying that, hey, let's authenticate with this provider, or redirect you to a new tab and go back. And in different scenarios, you might choose either one. They work pretty much the same. So yeah, let's see. I don't really get this, why they still use like the .then and .catch in the docs, although this works perfectly fine with like async awaits. So they get the auth instance, and then they sign in with pop-up. Probably going to do the same. Maybe I'll use redirect, we'll see. Then they get the result, and the result contains a credential and a user. So this is like authentication stuff you might store somewhere, but most importantly, it gives us the user to actually use. Cool. All right. I'm going to steal some of this. Maybe all of it. Actually, this is going to be a good exercise of like converting .then and catch to an async await. Anybody's curious. So, okay, we need get auth. Is it from Firebase? Yeah, Firebase auth. And then I'm going to use sign in with a redirect, just because, I don't know, I feel like it. So sign in with redirect, exactly the same as pop-up, but the one just shows you another page overlaid. The other one opens a new tab in your Chrome browser. Okay, we have a .then and a .catch. So these are methods that you can chain off of promises. I'm going to, because I declared this function as async, I'm going to convert this to async await. Instead of .then and then providing a callback, what I'm going to do is say const result await this function, and I don't need .then anymore. Yeah, you can access GitHub API. I don't need the credential, sorry, or the token. The only thing I care about is the user. Cool. So now I can get user as a result user. And then instead of a .catch, what you would do is wrap this in a try-catch block. So this goes in here. And if anything goes wrong, you can move the body inside the catch block, and you don't need any of this. I don't know. In my opinion, this looks better and reads better, more kind of like line by line. As for the user, I'm just going to return it. Just going to return result.user. And as for the error, I might just console error for now. We might want to handle it. the email of the user's account used, handlers here, authentication credential type that was used. Yeah, I don't care. Just want the error and the code and message. And for now, I'm just gonna console error and error code error message. Cool. I think we're good here. Now, when I'm going to log in, you won't see much change. So I'm going to, I'm just thinking how to do this properly. I'm going to log out the user just to prove this works, but we'll like the rest of this session will probably, I'll spend time on handling the authentication state because your app wants to, it needs to fetch the user in different places in the app and the top bar component on different pages and so on and so on. So yeah, I'm just going to log result user. We'll see if this worked. Just reload the page, log in. And okay, we got to our GitHub flow. So this is actually where it matters, like the icon that we're going to use. I might actually upload one. This is going to be shown here, and then you can see that it just uses my email address as read-only data. I can say authorize. I did not see the log, possibly because the page was reloaded. And that's fine. I actually think that we're pretty good here. At least we got the GitHub screen and it successfully showed everything, so I'm pretty happy. But we don't see like anything change here. And that's because I didn't implement any conditional logic of whether to show the user or to show the button. So I'm going to commit this, but next I'm going to start working on that state, on the authentication state. Cool. Okay. I'm going to use the GA because I added that auth service. So add authentication with GitHub. Cool. Okay, the simplest thing that I'm going to do for now is to just displaying the state in the menu component. What I want to do is say something like, just high level. What I'm going to do is saying, do we have a user? If we, and a user is like a piece of state that I'm going to be creating soon. If we do have a user, I just want to show something saying like the username, I think. So user, then just user. And I don't know what we actually have on it. I'm just guessing there is an email. If not, I want to show this login button. So it's going to complain because I don't have a user, which is fine. I'm going to have a piece of state here. So we have a toggle, and I'm going to say const user set user, let's use state, and it's going to be null by default. So there's not going to be a user by default. And then what I'm going to do is something I hope I can find this in the docs. They talk about this, the recommended way of handling authentication in Firebase. Let's see. I want to look for on-auth state changed, and you'll hear that a lot. So that's the UI. Let's see, connect to the app, sign up new users. You can create them. If you sign in with a provider, it automatically creates a user. Actually, I haven't showed the kind of taking a tangent here, but if I go and to my users tab, oh, that's interesting. I was expecting to have a user here, but I guess not. But I was hoping that when I signed in through GitHub, it would create my user. This is interesting. We might need to explore this. Okay, signing in existing users, set up authentication observer here. Yeah, set up authentication state observer to get user data. That's the way they recommend you to observe different user data and how it comes into the app. So let's read this code a bit. For each of your app's pages that need information about the sign-in user, attach an observer to the global authentication object. This observer gets called whenever the user's sign-in state changes. Attach the observer using the onStateChanged method. When the user successfully signs in, we get information about the user and the observer. So good stuff. You can see that the way you use this method is you just call it, you attach to a global authentication instance that you can just fetch from Firebase. And what it's going to do is return you a user whenever there is one. And it does work a little bit confusingly, because by default on the initial page load, the user will be null. And that's because it takes a bit of time, even if you're already signed in the app, it takes a bit of time at the start of the render of the page for Firebase to fetch the user data from their services. Even if it's like very little, or maybe not even from the servers, but like cached in your local storage. So that's why even on refresh of the page, this function will trigger. It will also trigger when you're not in a logged out state and you sign in, which means that from a user being null, you go to an actual user that's signed in. And finally, it will trigger when you go from a sign-in state to a signed out state when you log out from the application. So let's just test how this works. I'm going to put this in here. Import what's missing. So we want import get auth and on auth state changed from Firebase auth. Cool. So if we do have a user, actually, I don't care if we do or don't have a user. I'm just going to use my set user function. Set user. That's pretty much it, right? Maybe log it out as well. So instead of a log in here, I'm going to move it to the onAuth state changed function. So log the user, set it in the state, and then once again, here I now have conditional logic saying, have a user, show their email. We don't have a user, show a login button. Okay, let's see how that works. Let's refresh. Okay, we don't have a user. Let's sign in and see what it says. Cool. Okay, this actually worked. Here's my email. And here's the user that's authenticated. I'm curious why this got fired so many times. But it is displaying the right info. So here's all the data that you can see about me. My display name, which we can actually use, the email. I think there is even like some data about the GitHub stuff. I wonder if I can like show the GitHub. I mean, there's photo URL, which is the GitHub user URL, which would be nice to show. I think this is cool. This is a success. Now that I hope so. If I refresh the page, I think I should stay signed in. Yeah. So even if I refresh, you can see for a slight second there is a login button, but then the function fires and it fetches the cached user and the username. So yeah, we're pretty good, good shape. I'm going to commit this. So next thing we'll move on to is probably a logout button, together with displaying the image, my profile image instead of my email, because email is not very nice to look at. Yeah, I think so. So the simplest thing I can think of is like a button and then an image nested inside the button, I think. And then when you click on your image, you're logged out. Kind of weird behavior, but we'll go with it for now. So we want the image tag. SRC is going to be our user. What was it? Photo URL. Alt tag, don't never forget accessibility. Profile image. Alt attributes, previous already known image tags as an image. Oh, interesting. It's interesting that it picks that up. So yeah, just profile photo. No, okay, never mind. And I'm going to nest this into a button that will log us out. So we'll say button. Maybe multi-line this so it doesn't look very ugly and one-liney. And the button will have an on-click. The on-click will say log out. The logout function will be very simple. It's going to be export async function log out. And all it's going to do is say fetch the auth instance. And I'm going to use the log out function and pass the auth instance. Oh, possibly it doesn't even need the auth instance. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, probably not a good idea of calling it the same name. Let's rename this to, wait, is it sign out? Oh, it is sign out, sorry, sign out. And then, yeah, this needs an auth instance. Okay, cool. So get auth, sign out. And this needs to be imported. Sorry, log out. Cool, let's see how that looks like. Here's my giant image from GitHub. I definitely want that smaller. So let's add some CSS to this. Okay. So what do we have here? Media stuff, hamburger, ally, text. I'm curious how this is constrained. Okay, so the logo height is 40 px. That's probably what I'm gonna be aiming for. Button on click. Okay, let's put a class on here. Let's say something like profile image. Menu item hamburger. So profile image. And I want to restrain the height to 40 px. Hey, that's much better. Okay, we have this annoying outline because we're in like we're in a button. And I'm just thinking how we should handle this better. But I think if I click this, yeah, we are now logged out, and you can see that our state changed. If I refresh, we're not no longer logged in. We get nulls as users, which is expected. And if I log back in, yeah, I should get my profile picture. So that's cool. Oh, I know why we are calling this so many times. Also, my computer's dying. Sorry. I just realized. So, okay, we have two issues. One, the multiple calls. The second one is the styling. I'm gonna show the solution for the multiple calls one. The reason this is happening so many times is actually because the following is happening, or at least I can semi-describe the issue. So we have a state that governs our user, but also we have this listener that will change the user each time our authentication state changes. I remember when I said that this will rerun every time when you reload the page or rerun the component it is in. So what's happening is that on the initial render, you are declaring user as null, and then registering this event listener, which on the first render will set user to null. And this will cause a page re-render. It's going to do it again and again. And I think it's going to stop when we actually, that's the part that I can't really explain because, yeah, I'm not sure why it's calling it exactly 8 or 7 times. Probably because some state is reached and it no longer needs to re-render, or the function is no longer called. But this is bad. We shouldn't be calling this so many times. And the solution is to wrap this in a use effect. Use effect will only ensure that this runs once on the initial render of the page. So do our use effect. And update it with the auth piece here. So yeah, this now ensures that this will only re-render. Actually, I'm going to move auth in here. So we depend on nothing. This only now only will render one. Will run once on the initial render. So let's see if this works. Ooh. Definitely broke something. This is another of those minified errors, probably because I cannot nest a hook. The minified operation avoids sending down full error messages. Yeah, invalid hook call. Hooks can only be called inside of the body of the function component. This could happen for one of the following reasons. You might have mismatching versions of React, maybe breaking rules of hooks. You might have more than one copy of React, the same app. Not too obvious why this would be happening. But this is interesting. I think I've already dealt with this last time. Something in the calendar page. When I was listening for reads, I had a similar issue. I forget how I solved it there. Oh, I see. Which is quite similar. I'm actually not sure why it's complaining. Like, this is almost the same behavior that I want to implement. It's listening for, it's also registering a listener and updating state. So yeah, I'm really not sure, but I'm probably going to implement this on subscribe flow, which is also common for use effects. Or sorry, for like functions here. So auth state changed. Yeah, it also will return an unsubscribe. And then we'll return the function subscribe. So the function that you return from a use effect will run on component unmount, which is a good way to clean up your listeners. I'm going to try and move the auth because that's the only difference that I see between those cases. Let's try and rerun this. Still the same issue. I'm going to try and restart the app as well. All right. Okay, this already broke. Yeah, okay, maybe I don't deal with this right now. Yeah, I'm doing something wrong with hooks. Invalid hook call. Oh well, okay, maybe I don't worry about this right now. We don't have too much time. Let's fix up some styling on the user button, and I'm just gonna leave it as is. Just maybe comment this out for now. I'm almost sure this won't work, but I'm kind of tempted to just put an on-click on an image. I think it doesn't have that. I want to try. Oh, okay, that works. Interesting. Okay, so for some reason I thought it's only a certain number of elements that had the on-click. That works. That's fine. So the only annoying thing is that the cursor is not a pointer. So you'll see that this is still like a regular cursor, so I'm going to change that in the styles. So I don't need that anymore. It's my menu CSS. Cursor pointer. Cool. So this is pretty nice. We got the login, the logout functionality. I'm going to commit this, and then I'm going to do what I promised, which is changing the rules on the calendar page, so we can only modify it if we are logged in. I'm going to demo that. So let me commit. So clean up the logged-in state. Cool. Okay, the thing is, so the issue that I'm gonna be fixing is when you're logged out. Yeah, this is very annoying. Probably should fix this. I can still go to the calendar page and I can still add events, and that's not good. So I'm going to go to my security rules in my console. And I'm going to change them a bit. So allow reads, I want that for everyone. I want everybody to be able to see what events are coming up. Actually, potentially that might not be true. Maybe we'll require people to sign in with their GitHub accounts, but possibly people don't have their GitHub accounts. So I'm still not sure on that one. We also want to allow writes only if can I not use true here? Missing if. Okay, I guess like if true. Cool. I can say, so not the timestamp comparison. Not sure if you need semicolons, to be honest. Request auth not equal to null is what I'm interested in. Let's try this. I'm going to pull up some docs for security rules. We're quite close to finishing here, so I'm going to do this real quick. I think it's called Firestore, secure and validate data, writing conditions for security rules. Here, so this is this is the basic authentication rule that you will see. One of the most common security rule patterns is controlling access based on the user authentication state. For example, your app may want to allow only signed-in users to write data. So the most basic thing is checking if the request auth is not equal to null. Another common pattern is to make sure users can only read and write their own data, which also makes sense, right? Like you have a users table, and you only allow read, update, delete if their UID matches the user ID they're modifying. Okay, I'm not gonna go further with this. Just wanted to show you this real quick. I think this will be enough. So I'm gonna say publish. And I'm just gonna try and create an event and hope it fails. We'll see how it goes. So I'm logged out. My authentication state is null, and I'm going to create an event for today. Hey, that's great. Okay, so we got an error, and we got missing or insufficient permissions, and that's awesome. So now if I go back and I log in, I'm logged in. Now if I try to add an event, this should potentially work. Hey, look at that. We have an event here. Why is this 13? This is interesting. Just discovered a bug here. Somebody might want to look into, but this is awesome. We're now only allowing creates if you're a logged in member. We should probably also hide this button and not show it at all if we're not authenticated. But this is awesome. We can now differentiate between authenticated users and unauthenticated users. And what we did with security rules is actually protect the database from any kind of requests, not just from our app. Maybe there's going to be like third-party integration into our database. We just protected the database from any unauthenticated writes. This is still fragile, like it's not ideal. I mean, the reason for that is because any person with a GitHub profile can add an event in our system. So next time, I'll probably be working on cleaning these things up where we have like pieces of UI that depend on the authentication state. And I'll also will make sure that only I'll probably create a separate table in our database with like roles or users. And I will have like a list of emails or a list of, I don't know, GitHub IDs of people who are able, like admin IDs of people who are able to access the database and create events. So yeah, this was a very productive session. I think I accomplished everything that I wanted to do. Yeah, this last step didn't require any coding changes, so no need to commit anything. And yeah, I think we can wrap up early unless anybody else has any questions. What was done today? I'm open to any suggestions or anything like that. Cool. Let me just create a draft pull request here. Oh, we have a question. Where can I get older videos? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna paste a link in the chat. We have a whole playlist of videos that I'm running of previous sessions. Just hang on for a second. Let's try this. Yeah, see if this works. Oh, Chris already pasted something. Yeah, so see if those links work. Cool, thank you. Thank you, Kartik. Cool, awesome. I'm actually gonna skip this part and just submit this. All right. Any other questions? Any suggestions? 2 minutes to spare. All right. If that is it, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up. Next week we'll continue from where we left off. If you're interested in contributing, don't forget to check out the GitHub. It is linked in the description of the video, and also in the event description. So yeah, feel free to check that out if you want to work on any issues or contribute. I'm almost welcome. Always welcoming new people to the project. All right, take care, guys. Thanks for joining. See you next week.